If your LinkedIn profile isn't bringing you top career opportunities, you're probably missing key features that recruiters and hiring managers look for. But don't worry, I've got you covered. In this episode, I'm breaking down the 8 must-have features of a winning LinkedIn profile that will make you stand out, get noticed, and attract top recruiters. You'll learn how to craft a catchy industry-specific headline, write an attention-grabbing about summary, showcase your experience effectively, and much more. Plus, I'll share 4 essential AI prompts to help you optimize your profile faster and 3 must-have networking templates to grow your connections and help you easily discover the hidden job market. And to make things even easier, I've created a brand new free resource just for you, the Ultimate LinkedIn Profile Checklist. You can grab your copy now using the link in the description or the show notes to make sure your profile is set up for success. Hey, I'm Heather Austin, a university professor turned entrepreneur, and I help job seekers land their dream roles with simple, actionable strategies that actually work. If you're ready to level up your job search, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and let's dive right in. So the very first thing I want to cover when it comes to our 8 must-have profile sections on LinkedIn that need to be optimized is your professional profile photo. So I want to share with you really quickly a couple screenshots. On LinkedIn, your professional profile photo shows up everywhere, right? It's going to show up in your news feed if you decide to participate in the news feed. It's also going to show up on your main page. It's going to show up if anyone does a search for you. It's kind of like your key indicator of who you are. Now, a couple guidelines, because I could talk about professional profile photos all day long. I want it to be professional. In the past, I've said, don't do a selfie. If you're going to do a selfie, I would rather you use the backside of your camera and have someone take the picture for you because the cameras on the backside are a little bit better. You could do that, but just make sure that you're smiling. I'm actually recommending now kind of like the chest, at least the elbows up so that it's a little bit clearer, that we can see you. Keep your background neutral. You don't want like a selfie from far away. It's not Facebook. It's not Instagram. It doesn't need to be some like stylish selfie, right? When we're talking about LinkedIn, you have to think of a nice professional headshot. Of course, dress up if you can. In mine, I'm wearing a t-shirt, but that's okay because I'm a business owner. I can do that, right? If I was a job seeker, I would definitely want to make sure I was wearing some sort of blouse, a jacket over my blouse, whatever. If I'm a guy, I'm going to wear like a collared shirt. Just look nice and presentable to your industry and make it reflect a picture that someone in your industry would have, right? Now, here's the key thing when it comes to your profile photo is that when you have a profile photo uploaded and actually visible, now this is a different profile photo. Of course, I'm wearing like a jacket now over my t-shirt. Your profile's 14 times more viewable. Like people are going to go to your profile 14 times more and actually view your profile, and you'll actually receive 9 times more connection requests. So make sure it looks good and make sure it's uploaded. I get a lot of LinkedIn connection requests every single day, and a lot of people just don't have their profile photo. And with the increase of spam accounts, we don't know who you are, right? So make sure you get a nice photo uploaded. Now, the next part to your LinkedIn profile that has to be optimized, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this headline section. So get your notes, get your pencil, get your notebook, whatever you need to do, because we're going to spend a little bit of time on this, is your catchy industry-specific headline. Now, here's the thing. I know I have not mentioned AI at all yet today, but if you have joined any of my live streams in the past, I talk a lot about using AI to help you with every single part of your job search, and LinkedIn is no different. So I'm going to share with you 2 free AI tools if you are not yet using either one of these, because I'm also going to be sharing with you in just a minute some prompts that you can go to AI to ask it to help you craft your industry-specific headline. So the very first tool, and if you've joined me before, you already know what I'm going to say, is ChatGPT. So you can go to chat.openai.com to use ChatGPT. I think this is my go-to. I don't really invest in a lot of other AI tools except for this one because I feel like this one will give me exactly what I want if I know how to ask it the right questions. So you can go to chat.openai.com. This is free. You do not need to sign up for the paid version of ChatGPT. The next free version is Gemini. So if you go to gemini.google.com, the reason I'm sharing this with you guys, because in just a minute, I'm going to be giving you some AI prompts, and I want you to go to these AI tools, your AI assistant, pick one of them, and I want you to use these to actually craft your headline. I'm also going to give you a prompt for your summary. So be thinking about these. Now, which one of these tools do you use? Or do you use AI? Maybe it's for school, maybe it's for work, maybe it's to help you write your emails, maybe it's to help you with your job search. Do you use, or are you currently using any form of AI? Now on to our LinkedIn headline. So again, you have your AI tools that you can use. Your LinkedIn headline is one of the most important features of your profile. I'm going to share with you 3 different ways that you can actually write a really amazing LinkedIn profile. But the thing that you want to keep in mind here is that your headline is basically kind of like your tagline, right? It's kind of describing who you are, what you do, who you help, how you help them. And I'm going to share a couple ways that you can use this. Let me give you some pointers here, and I don't have a separate slide for this. It needs to be concise, it needs to be compelling, and it needs to be accurate. It also needs to be relevant, and it needs to include keywords specific to your industry. It needs to be tailored to your unique skills. And I don't want you to use the default headline that LinkedIn gives you from your current position or your previous position. And I never want you to use words like actively seeking. So let me show you method number 1 to writing your LinkedIn headline. Now, this is the easiest. If you don't at least have this method kind of intact, you need to at least get this method intact. And if you're a regular viewer of my channel, hopefully you know this method. So you're going to start with your desired position title, and then all you're going to do is give it some industry-specific hard skills. Okay, so desired position title with some industry-specific hard skills. Let me show you an example of that. So here's a couple of different examples. Let's say I'm a senior graphic designer, right? So I'm going to say senior graphic designer, and I'm going to say specializing in, and then I'm going to give it a list of some of my hard skills. Logo design, web design, brand strategy, and visual communications. All of these keywords come specifically from the industry that I'm targeting. Now, if I'm applying for a director of public relations position, or that's kind of my ideal job title, I'm going to lead with that. And I don't even have to say specializing in. I can just say campaign management, email marketing, SEO, and CRO. So notice how many keywords we are targeting in just this easy, simple method of our LinkedIn headline. Now, are you guys ready for your first prompt? Because this is a good one. This is what's going to help you get your LinkedIn profile headline in tip-top shape, right? Because we are smart, we're smart, but AI is even smarter. So we want to use AI to help us with this. So our very first prompt, and this is specifically if you're going to be using method 1 for your industry specific headline, method 1, remember, which is the easiest. I'm going to go to my AI assistant. I'm going to say, hey, I'm seeking and then I'm going to give it my desired position title. And I have a strong background in, and I'm going to give it some of those industry specific hard skills. Could you help me, or can you help me create a LinkedIn headline that showcases these skills? Now, here's the thing. Whatever your result comes back as, you may have to prompt it a little bit more and ask it a few more clarifying questions to really get the headline that you want. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you're not sounding like an AI bot in your headline. This is just to give you an idea and give you some more key skills, some more thoughts that maybe you didn't think of, right? And your AI friend, which is smarter than we are by like 1,000,000 trillion degrees, is going to give you some amazing recommendations that you can either tailor yourself or ask it clarifying questions to make it even better. Now, method number 2, this is where you're going to get a little specific. So this is a little bit more advanced now, right? So we're not just going to go with our desired position title. We're also going to go with some other things. And we don't want to just list the skills, right? So this is where we're going to list our desired position title, the industry specific hard skills, but also the value proposition. So when you think of your value proposition, this is the unique value or the benefit that you bring to the table. The unique value or the benefit that you bring to a company, the unique value or benefit that you bring to a position. So you really got to brainstorm that just a little bit. Let me give you some examples. So I'm still taking our same senior graphic designer position and our director of public relations and marketing. So if I'm a senior graphic designer, I'm going to still list some of those key skills, web design and brand strategy. Now I'm going to pick the ones that I think are the most beneficial, the ones that are the most used, the keywords that I know the employers are looking for. But then I'm going to add on the back of that my value proposition, which is creating visual stories that captivate and inspire. So notice I'm still using keywords in here, visual stories, captivate, inspire. I'm still using that, but I'm now doing it in a much more interest and almost storytelling way. Now, if we look at the director of public relations and marketing, I'm going to still have my key skills, campaign management and email marketing, and maybe I'll switch those up depending on, maybe I need to do the CRO or the SEO, or maybe I need to add a different key skill. That's okay. We're going to still have those in there, but then I'm also adding on the back end of that, streamlining operations for efficient project delivery. Now that could even be something that the employer wanted in the job description, right? So you can evaluate the job description or job descriptions if you're applying for multiple positions, and you can pick out certain things that they're saying, and you can now add that to your profile as your value prop if you're having a hard time coming up with one. All right, are you ready for the next prompt? Because this is going to be for method 2. If you decide that you want to use your desired position title with the key skills and your value prop, the prompt that you're going to use is hi, and whatever. You could be like, hey, who, and if you've given your AI assistant a name, call it its name, right? I aim to secure a position as, and this is, you could change how you say this, even use it how you would talk to it. I'm looking to secure a position as, give it the desired position title, where I can apply my, and then I'm going to give it my industry specific hard skills. Let me make this red really quick because I want you to know before you take your screenshot that you have to tailor that. So where I can apply my industry specific hard skills, I bring and then give it your value proposition to the table. How can I best phrase this for my LinkedIn headline? Now, what I want you to do, depending on the prompt that you give it or the results that it gives you, make sure it goes back and it's in that formula that I provided for you. You could even ask it, can you write me a headline that lists my desired position title, my industry specific key skills, and my value proposition? There's so many ways you could do this, right? So method number 3 is similar to method number 2. However, instead of the value proposition, we're now going to list a results-driven achievement statement. Method 2 and 3 are probably my most favorite, right? Because it just gives the employer a little bit more information, right? Rather than just going with the easiest method, which is just giving your title with key skills. Let me show you an example of what this looks like. And we're going to, again, use our same job titles. So I have senior graphic designer, and I'm going to use the same skills, web design and brand strategy, but rather than that value prop, notice what I'm doing. I'm adding my results-driven achievement statement. Catalyst for 20% boost in client transactions with 200 plus successful projects. Now, here's the thing with, well, what results-driven achievement statement do I use? If you ever attended a resume writing live stream or workshop with me, you know that I have a very specific formula that I have you follow to write your results-driven achievement statements. Those are going to be all over your resume. They should actually be all over your LinkedIn profile as well. However, when you're trying to decide which one to use, because we probably all have 10, 20 results-driven achievement statements, you need to pick an achievement statement that is directly pertaining or relevant to either your industry, the position you're applying for, the company. What are they going to find the most impressive? And that's the one that you're going to use. Now, if we look at our Director of Public Relations and Marketing position, same thing. I have the title, I have the key skills, but then notice my achievement statement is developed comprehensive PR strategy resulting in a 30% increase in media coverage. Now, maybe I picked that achievement statement because they talked about the PR strategy, or maybe they talked about media coverage, or maybe they talked about whatever it is that I can find that relates directly to that position or that company. So keep in mind, you might have to play around with this just a little bit to get it right. So decide method 2 or 3, well, maybe even method 1, if you want to just get a quick, you don't have anything in there right now and you need to change it from the default or switch out actively seeking, right? Now let me share with you the prompt for this. So very similar, I'm targeting the role of whatever I have expertise in, give it some of your expertise. I'm proud of this results-driven achievement statement. How can I incorporate this into an impactful LinkedIn headline? Remember, this is just one way for you, just one way for you to ask your AI assistant how to help you with that headline. Now, I've shared 3 different methods with you when it comes to the headline, plus 3 different prompts. You may have to go in and add the information that I've given you today. You might have to go in and say, in fact, here's another tip that I would recommend. And I think this is my AI assistant does really well with this if I give it examples. So you could maybe ask it prompt number 3, and then you could go in and give it, let me pop back to these examples. You could go in and give it these examples and say, here's an example of a senior graphic designer written this way. Here's an example of a director of public relations and marketing written this way. The thing where I feel like job seekers get out of hand, which by the way, take a screenshot of this if you haven't, or anyone in that matter, is not knowing the right questions to ask and not knowing how to further prompt it, right? So if you get a result and you need a little bit more clarification, do not be afraid to keep going with that prompt or to keep going with your questions to make sure you really get it nice, clean, concise, keyword heavy, and really a magnet to recruiters and career opportunities. Next question for you. What's one change that you need to make to your LinkedIn headline? So based on what I've taught you about your LinkedIn headline, what's one change that you want to make? So your number one goal with your summary, I want you to keep this in mind, I don't have a separate slide for this, is that you want to capture your strengths and your achievements, all while telling an amazing career story. Now, this is one of the most overlooked sections on LinkedIn. It is probably one of the hardest to create. And basically, you're just trying to tell them who you are, who you help, what you do, but you want to do it in a very interesting way. I'm going to share with you another prompt in just a second to have you use AI to help you. But let me give you some guidelines first. When it comes to your about summary, it needs to be an easy to read snapshot with keywords. So we're talking about those keywords a lot, right? So you can talk about who you are. You can talk about what you've done. You can talk about what you've done for someone else. You want to keep it short and to the point. We don't want a massive, huge about summary, but we do want it long enough where we get the picture. You've painted a really nice picture for us. You also want to make sure you're including those relevant keywords in your industry, because this is what's going to help you show up at the top of the search results when a recruiter's looking for your profile or looking for someone that does what you do. I like to see it in about 2 to 3 paragraphs. I'm going to share an example with you, plus an AI prompt that you can use, right? Keep your paragraph short, 2 to 4 sentences. Don't give us a whole entire novel of who you are. You got to really condense it into interesting, short, easy to read, digestible sentences, right? This is really where you're going to showcase your professional achievements, your goals, and your interests. I like you to include a career highlights section in this. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in just a second. It's really similar to a career highlights that you would have on like your resume, right? Now, you also want to include an expertise section. So this is a section, I still wanted to talk about this today because I still think it's impactful. However, I do want to say this, and when we get to the skills part of LinkedIn, I'll show you what I mean. The expertise section is going to be a section on the bottom that has your keywords. It's really a way to increase your keyword optimization. I still want this in here. However, LinkedIn is now using a skills-based recruiting approach, and they allow you to add skills, which will show up at the bottom of your profile. If you haven't already done that yet, I still like expertise there, and then skills will show up totally different, right? So that's why I kept this in to today's presentation, because I still want it in there. If you can include a call to action, that's amazing. Your email address, and with how others can easily reach you, some sort of invitation to connect or collaboration. And then I also want to see you use headers and bullet points. I'm going to show you how to do that because LinkedIn does not give you that option. You can't bold something. You can't add a bullet point besides like a symbol. Headers I'll show you how I do headers in a second. And then, show your character and personality. Hello, that's what it's all about, right? This is going to be really similar. Well, okay, I don't know if it's necessarily similar to a professional summary on a resume, but you're talking in first person now when it comes to LinkedIn. When you go to your resume, you're never writing I, me, my, right? But when you come to LinkedIn, now you can start saying my biggest passion, I love this, I do this, whatever. You can start talking more like you're talking to someone normally, right? You can write it in first person. It does need to be way, way, way more interesting than your resume, and it's going to show a lot more of your character and your personality. So really quickly, with these guidelines, and I'm going to share with you my next prompt in just a second here and an example, type in if this is doable. Can you apply these guidelines to your LinkedIn summary? Type in if this is doable. All right, let me show you a quick example of what this looks like in terms of how your summary is going to look on your LinkedIn profile. So if I go in and I make all my changes to my profile, I have my very first paragraph, right? And notice that I'm going to give you like an entire prompt that you can use. And I'm using my digital marketing example. This is just an example of what it would be after I've applied those strategies, right? So in paragraph 1, it's a nice little sentence. I'm talking about what my passion is. I'm talking about I'm eager to help these people. Here are my interests. I work closely with so-and-so to do this, right? That's basically paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is giving more of the backstory about how many years of experience I have. Maybe I'm going to share one of my greatest projects, my greatest accomplishments, whatever it is. But then notice I'm also adding in here like a personal statement. In my free time, I enjoy horseback riding and epic snow skiing, right? We can use and share information like that on LinkedIn, so keep that in mind. Now, my professional career highlights. Notice how I've written that. LinkedIn does not give you options to add a headline, but notice I can capitalize something to turn it into a headline. That's all I'm doing here. Then I'm placing my career highlights after that. Your career highlights are the things that you want to go into an interview with, are the things that you want to go into a networking event with, are the things you want to talk to a new potential client about, your biggest projects, your biggest achievements, your biggest accomplishments. Now the expertise section, notice this. Please, please, please pay attention to this part. I'm also capitalizing expertise, and notice what I'm doing. I'm adding hard and soft skills, and mainly hard skills, but I could add some soft skills in here too, that directly relate to my industry, that directly relate to my position, that are skills that a recruiter, a hiring manager, a CEO, a potential client might be searching for. This just further optimizes your profile for search results. That's why I still keep it in there. In just a second, I'm going to show you about the skills section on LinkedIn, because that's another little piece that you're going to pop into your about section. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. And you can reuse some of those same skills, but I like to repeat them every so often just so it's showing up on my profile. You can repeat them in different ways. You can reword them. I mean, stick to industry standard, right? And only you know that based on the industry that you're in, but I still love that expertise section. So with this prompt, this is us really tuning into our about summary, right? So I want you to take what I just showed you, the example that I just showed you, kind of the guidelines that I taught you, right? And you can go over to ChatGPT and you could say, hey, I need help writing my LinkedIn about summary. Here are some key points about me. You're going to give it some passion or interests, right? Give it something that you're passionate or interested about. Give it a professional goal. Give it your area of expertise. Give it some sort of value addition, which again is similar to your value proposition. List a notable achievement, and then give a call to action. So notice what I have in red. That's what you are going to type in. That's the information that you need. Here's what I want you to think about when you do this. Please, please, please reference whatever you get from your AI assistant with the example that I just shared with you. And I want you to try and formulate and format it so that you're using, see, again, this is where job seekers or anyone using AI gets in trouble, is they just take a general blank prompt like this and they think, oh, that's perfect. I'm just going to use exactly what it said. But then what you don't know on the other end is that there's recruiters and hiring managers and other people that know AI really well as well. And they're like, oh, that's so unfortunate. I can totally tell that they used AI to write this for them. So please reference everything that I'm sharing with you with what you're getting, and then pull it together with your own personal language, your own personal character, your own personality, right? Pull that all together to create your amazing LinkedIn summary. This is just a starting point, by the way. What's one change that you need to make to your LinkedIn About summary? So based on everything that I just shared with you, what is one change that you need to make to your LinkedIn About summary? So we talked a little bit about your profile photo. We talked a little bit about your headline. We talked about your About summary. Notice I'm going from the top of your profile and moving down. What I'm sharing with you are only the sections that I want you to be focused on now. Now, when we look at your detailed work experience, I want you to remember that this is going to be much more personable and relatable than your resume. Now, you can take your resume and you can pop it into your LinkedIn profile, but I want you to take it one step further. I want you to make it more personable and relatable. It's going to be a brief paragraph of your overall responsibilities. Now, keep in mind, you're going to describe your key achievements. You're going to highlight your contributions or contributions where you actually made an impact. You're going to provide specific examples. If you can, quantify those examples and accomplishments wherever possible. And then, of course, you can showcase your areas of expertise and the skills that you've received, right? That have helped you excel in your position. Results-driven achievement statements. I can say this all day long, forever and ever and ever, no matter what I'm talking about with any job seeker. You're not only going to be using these in your profile, you're going to be using them in your resume, and more importantly, you're going to be using them in your interviews, right? The other thing with your experience section, give metrics and data to demonstrate your impact, right? Number of products sold, percentages increased, productivity increased, revenue saved or revenue increased, whatever that is, growth, cost savings, team size, customer satisfaction. Really think about those examples that you can put into your LinkedIn experience section. Make sure you're always including your relevant keywords and highlighting those expertise, and also make sure you are indicating some sort of career progression, right? That's one of the most important things to a recruiter, a hiring manager, a CEO, a potential client, is they want to know, hey, you've started here, and maybe that was 10, 15 years ago, and now you're here. And show me that clear path. Show me that you are able to make smart decisions in your career, because if you're able to make smart decisions in your career, I know that you're able to make smart decisions if I hire you. Here's an example really quickly of what this looks like. Now, keep in mind, I'm using a combination of a paragraph, and it could be one sentence or two sentences, and I'm also using bullet points, and that's okay. You can do that. You don't have to copy and paste directly from your resume. In fact, I prefer that you don't, because then it just becomes a little bit more stuffy and formal. Where LinkedIn, we really want to show your expertise. Make sure you have your catchy job title. Most of the time, most of you are going to have just your job title with where you're at or your most recent position. Just make sure that's not your LinkedIn headline. Make sure your LinkedIn headline is interesting, it's catchy, it's engaging. And again, go back to where we talked about LinkedIn headlines if you have questions on how to do that. Now, are you guys ready for my experience template? This is a template for your experience section. Okay, this is a template. So I've been giving you a bunch of AI prompts. I'm now going to share with you a template to help you write that experience section. So make sure you screenshot that. In paragraph 1, you're basically explaining your key responsibilities and your achievements, and you're highlighting your contributions and impact. Right? You're basically going to be showcasing your areas of expertise, your skills, how you've utilized them to excel. You're going to highlight any notable projects, your initiatives or collaborations that you were involved in. That's going to be paragraph 1. Keep in mind, and this is where I want you guys to start thinking about AI. I may have all the prompts for you for this, but I want you to think about, how can I now take this experience template and ask my AI assistant how to help me write my experience section. After your paragraph 1, and by the way, I don't want this to be big, huge, long. I want it to just be short and sweet. Then you're going to add 3 to 4 bullet points. Again, these are your results-driven achievement statements. You're going to highlight again or showcase your expertise, your impact, and your contributions. Quantify whatever you can. So I want to know really quickly, inside of your experience section, have you ever used media elements, right? So I showed you paragraph 1. I showed you how to do your career highlights. Have you ever added anything else into that section, like images, videos, PDFs, PowerPoints, anything like that? Now, again, I'm not going to show you how to do that today because we would be here for quite a while. But anyone that does use LinkedIn on a regular basis or has their profile optimized, have you ever used this inside your experience section? Now let's move on to the education section. This one's pretty easy. I don't have a whole lot to say about this besides get it in there. If you don't have any sort of education, by the way, this is an example of what mine looks like. I have my graduate program in there. I have my undergraduate program in there. I have the name of the school. I have the actual school part, right? So where I went to school, it was in the School of Business. My degree, notice how I've listed my degree. I don't want you to say master's in blah, blah. I want you to say Master of Science, or you don't just say MBA. Spell that out. Or Master of Arts. Don't just say MA. Spell that out, give the initials, and then give the name of your program, and then your emphasis if you have one, right? Keep that in mind. The more detailed that you can be in that section without sharing too much, the better. And then if you don't have any sort of formal education, that's okay. List your certifications. You can list training if you want to. If you don't have certifications in an area that you're going into and there is a certification that you can get, I would highly get started on that certification. You can add it to your profile and say that your expected finish date is such and such, right? So anytime that we can add education, training, certifications, that's like a whole nother cherry on top for employers to say, yeah, this person is staying current in their field and they are versatile. So keep that in there or add that to your profile. Now let's talk about impactful skills. So this section I'm going to talk about for just a minute here, because this one is becoming more and more important on LinkedIn, especially with LinkedIn going with that skills-based recruitment approach. So back in the day, and I don't even know, when's back in the day? 2 years, 10 years? I don't even know. You couldn't add specific skills to each section on your profile. All you did was have the skills section, but now LinkedIn is allowing you to add skills to different sections on your profile. I'm going to share with you some screenshots to help you know where you can add those and when to add those. Before I share those screenshots, let me share this first one. This is if I go to my LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn used to display 3 skills on my homepage and on your homepage and everyone's homepage. Now they're just displaying the top 2. So you have to be really, really, really thoughtful with what your top 2 skills are. If they're not listed on your profile right now, you need to reorder them so that those top 2 are on your profile. Those top 2 skills are the ones that I want you to be adding and getting endorsements for today, which, by the way, that's one of your challenges or your homework assignments. And I'll share that in just a second. When you go to your skills section, you have that plus icon and you have the edit icon. Plus is going to allow you to add. Edit's going to allow you to edit whatever you have in there right now. Go experiment and play around with this. You can add up to 100 skills. I don't want you to add up to 100 skills, at least not yet. I could tell you if I do this workshop again in 2 months that I want you to add all 100. I like to keep this skills list manageable. I have 30 skills on mine. You could add 45, you could add 50. The reason why is because I want you to focus on getting endorsements for the top skills. And it could be, let's say you have 10 or 20 that you're working on getting endorsements for, rather than trying to get endorsements for 100 skills, because it waters down your profile. People get confused. They want to just be able to click, 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 endorse you for this. They're not going to go and endorse you for all 100 skills. Now, unless you've been on LinkedIn a long time and you have 100,000 connections or 1 million connections and people that will do that, great. But for the most part, what you need to do is focus on those top skills. I don't have an exact number for how many you should add. I have 30 on mine. You could experiment with 35. You could experiment with 25, but pay attention to the top 2. Now, if I go deeper into that skill section, and I'm going to add a skill, which is that plus icon. Notice what happens is I can start typing into the search bar a skill that I want to add, or I can go suggested based on what LinkedIn is giving me. And they're going to give me a couple skills. What I want you to keep in mind when you are adding skills, so let's say I type leadership in, I want you to get very specific as possible. I don't want you just to type leadership. So let's say I wanted to type leadership. Well, notice all the options it's giving me. Team leadership, cross-functional team leadership, leadership development, exceptional leadership, organizational development, leadership. What you want to do is try your very hardest to stick with a skill that it is suggesting you in that list if I start typing, or even in my suggested based in my profile, because these are skills that recruiters, hiring managers, CEOs are looking for. If you just add some random skill that LinkedIn is like, you're not getting a result that it's showing you, that means no one's searching for that skill. So be specific with that skill. Don't be too broad. Get very specific and make sure you're using some of the suggestions that it's giving you, because that's what people are searching for. Now, if we're gonna go in and, this is the other thing I wanted to show you. This is if I were to go edit. You can sort your skills by industry knowledge, tools of and technology, or interpersonal skills. Make sure you have each section kind of covered, right? So you don't want just industry knowledge skills. You want to make sure you also have your interpersonal skills in there. So make sure you have some skills in each of these sections when you go to add a skill to LinkedIn. Oh, I got to go back to this other screenshot. Sorry, I forgot to share this. At the bottom of this, notice it says, tell us where you put this skill to use. Okay, so here's the thing, and I don't have a screenshot of what this looks like down below, but this is now where you can start adding the skills to your experience. In a certain position, you can add skills to your summary, and you can add skills to your about and your experience section, which before it didn't allow you to do that. So keep that in mind. It's going to ask you, where do you want us to put this skill, or where did you put this skill to use? Now in your work experience, you'll now have a list of skills. Keep this in mind. I don't know if I have a separate slide on this because I can't remember if I do. I think I do. Let me go in and I do. Let me keep going. Okay. On the skills section, you can reorder these skills again based on the skills of most important to you, to your position you're applying for, to your candidacy as a job seeker, a client, whatever that is. Make sure those top two are at the very top of that list. Now, next thing I want you to do is, when you are looking at where you're adding those skills, again, you can add them to your summary. And notice in here, this is if I were to go edit my summary, I can now add a skill. LinkedIn didn't used to have this as an option. That's why I always had that expertise section in there. I still want you to keep the expertise section there and then add a skill. Here's what I also want you to do. Don't add any more than 5 skills. Keep it to 5 skills that you are adding. So let's say, for example, it's going to say suggested based on my profile. It wants me to add problem solving, career development, leadership development, communication, leadership, things like that. I could add that, but rather I'd probably go in and add things like LinkedIn training, job search strategy, interview skills. I would add certain things in there so that if someone's searching for what I do, I'm going to pop up at the top of their search results, or higher to the top, right? Now, the other place that you can add your skill is to your work experience section. So this is if I were to edit my work experience section, I can now add that skill. Now, if I didn't already tell LinkedIn in the previous, when I was working on my skills section, to add it to a certain work experience, I can go back in and add it manually just by editing my work experience. Keep in mind, when you do this, I want you to go back, save your changes, and look at what your profile looks like after those skills have been added. LinkedIn will show those top 5 skills right on the first window, which is, I want you to keep each, if you're adding them to each work experience, add just 5 to each work experience and add 5 to your summary. And if all else fails, just go to your LinkedIn section and go to your skills and start editing your skills from there. Endorsements, they are a form of recommendations, but what endorsements are is, now you have your skills list optimized. Now you're asking other people to endorse you for your skills, right? So when you go to LinkedIn's page, it will say 99 plus people have endorsed you for this. That's where I want you to get if you are not already there. So let's say that you are a business analyst. I want to see 99 plus people have endorsed you for you being a business analyst. Or let's say leadership communication is one of your skills. 99 plus people have endorsed you for that. So the more the endorsements, the better. This is where you're going to be collecting endorsements from your colleagues, connections, people in your network. And they're going to basically validate that, yes, you say you have that skill. I'm going to endorse you for that. Let me show you what that looks like. Again, same window that I showed before, 99 plus endorsements for LinkedIn training, 86 endorsements for resume writing, right? I better go reach out to my network and say, endorse me for resume writing, right? So whatever skills are at the top of your profile on your homepage, the top two, that's what I want you to be getting endorsements for. Now you're probably wondering, Heather, how do I even get those endorsements? Well, by the way, I have a really awesome endorsement template. So take a screenshot of this that will help you get those endorsements. So this is where you are going to start reaching out to your connections on LinkedIn and you're going to start asking them for an endorsement, right? So I'm saying, hey, so-and-so, hope you're doing well. I'm looking to build my profile and was wondering if you would consider endorsing me for skills X, Y, and Z. Now you could give them 3 to 4 skills, whatever. 2 skills if you want to do at least those top skills. Now you could even just leave it at that. But if you want to get even more detailed with, hey, do you remember when we worked together at company blah, 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 I helped da, 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 da. And most people, you don't need to give them this much information, but this is here in case you want to adjust this, take out what you want. You could say it would mean a lot to me. I would be more than happy to return the favor. Thanks again and hope all is well, right? Take a screenshot of this because this is what you're going to use to have people endorse you on LinkedIn so that your skills list continually builds because skills-based recruiting is getting even more important. Plus those search algorithms are getting really focused on those skills. You want to have those in there sorted properly, arranged properly, and you want to have those endorsements. So what are the top 2 skills on your LinkedIn profile? And let's say you haven't even optimized it yet. What are the top skills you are going to add to your LinkedIn profile? The last part to our 8 sections that you need to have optimized is your influential recommendations. Now, recommendations are some of the top things that you can have on your profile to validate and verify who you are, what you've done, how you've helped companies, and really just to tell others that, hey, I am who I say I am, right? Here's an example of what that looks like on a profile. So you're going to have your recommendations that if I go to your homepage, I'm going to see all the stuff we've talked about, skills, so on and so forth. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to see your recommendations. The best people to ask recommendations from, if you don't have any, or if you are building your recommendation list, which I have another template in a second to share with you, and I think this is the last template, is ask previous colleagues, clients, supervisors. You can ask professors. You can even ask people that maybe you worked on a project for that work for another company, anyone that you've done any work with in any way. Even if it was volunteer work, if it was contract work, freelance work, it does not matter. If they're on LinkedIn and they have a profile, they can write you a recommendation. Now, I will tell you this, of course, the higher up the person is, if they have CEO status, if they have business owner status, whatever it is, supervisor, management status, those are going to weigh heavier than, let's say, a cross-functional team member, right? That's okay still. Get all of those, but take a look at who you're asking for recommendations for. Have them highlight your skills and your expertise, right? And I'm going to give you a template that you can use in a second to ask these folks for this. If they can give you or write a recommendation that gives like examples of your work and your accomplishments, that's even better. Anyway, get those squared away on your profile. Here is a template for you. Take a screenshot of this, because you're going to want to use this to actually get your recommendations. So I gave you a template to use for endorsements. Here's a template to use for recommendations. So this is if you're reaching out to someone to ask them to write you a recommendation. Keep in mind, it's really rare for people just to all of a sudden think of you and say, hey, I'm going to go write a recommendation for Victoria, or I'm going to go write a recommendation for Mark, or I'm going to write a recommendation for Michelle. Normally that doesn't happen. So you want to get out there and put yourself out there and ask them to write one for you. So I'm currently optimizing my LinkedIn profile and expanding my career opportunities. I've heard that LinkedIn recommendations are a great way to do this. Would you mind writing a recommendation for me? And you could give them, here's our time together. And can you focus on these skills? Give them skill 1, 2, and 3. I would be happy to write a recommendation for you as well. I appreciate your time. Here's the thing. You want to make this as easy and simple as possible for them. So, of course, in the Academy, not only do I have your recommendation template, but we also have a template that you write for them. Like you say, hey, By the way, I've already drafted this up for you to make it easier. Can you take a look at it and let me know, is this something that you would be comfortable posting? If so, feel free to use this and make any changes that you want and post it to my profile, and I'll do the same thing for you, right? So you want to make it easy as possible. When I was a university professor, I had so many students come in, graduate and undergraduate, that said, hey, Professor Austin, I'm applying for this position. Can you write a recommendation for me? I'm like, yes, I can. But then I got to the point where I'm like, oh my goodness, like, can you tell me what you want me to say? Can you give me the skills you want me to focus on? Can you tell me what position you're applying for? Who is this going to And then I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Why don't you draft that recommendation for me and then give it to me and I'll read it and I'll change it how I see fit, right? And then I was like, oh, okay, now I'm getting to all the recommendation requests that I have rather than just 1 out of 10. Because when you're getting 1 out of 10 people in a day or whatever, in a month, you're like, oh, I got to go think really hard, right? About what to say. So I know for me, that made it a lot easier when I finally started asking my students, how about you just draft it for me? And then I was like, this is easy. So that's the approach that I want you guys to take. Quick question for you. What part of your LinkedIn profile needs the most work? Let me know in the comments or DM me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. And don't forget to grab your free ultimate LinkedIn profile checklist, your step-by-step guide to creating a recruiter attracting profile that opens doors to top-tier career opportunities. The download link is in the description or the show notes. So go snag your copy now. And if this episode helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and if you're tuning in on the podcast, I'd love for you to take a few seconds to rate and review. It seriously makes a huge difference. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.